بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أعزائي الطلبة والطالبات، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أهلا بيكم حلقة جديدة من برنامج مدرسة على الهواء. النهاردة عندنا مراجعة الجبرا. عندنا في الالجبرا 3 يونتس. مهم جدا ان احنا نراجع على ال 3 يونتس. النهاردة عندنا equations. This is the first unit. The second unit algebraic fractional functions and the operations on them. واخر يونت عندنا ال probability. اللي هنعمله النهارده ان احنا mainly هنشتغل من البيبل بوك، فمطلوب منكم ان انتوا يكون معاكم دلوقتي البيبل بوك، وهنلاقي exercises من البيبل بوك ونبدا نحلها مع بعض. اللي هنبدا بيه طبعا يونت 1 الجنرال اكسرسايز اللي عندنا المفروض اللي هي في page 133. This is the general exercise page 133. هنبدا نشتغل من الجنرال اكسرسايزز، ومينلي ان احنا هنمسك يونت 1 ونشوف الافكار الاساسيه الاول. احنا عندنا ايه الافكار الاساسيه في يونت 1؟ عندنا في يونت 1 في 3 lessons مهمين قوي: solving two equations graphically and algebraically, both of them in first degree and in two variables. lesson الثاني solving an equation of second degree in one variable. الدرس الثالث اللي هو كان solving two equations, one of them is of first degree and the other is of second degree and both of them in two variables. خلينا نبدأ كده بالأفكار الأساسية ونختار كده exercise موجود عندنا في page 134. page 134 عندنا third. Find the solution set of for each pair of the following equations. عندنا في graphically وعندنا algebraically. خلينا نبدأ نشتغل algebraically. ازاي بنعمل solving two equations for two equations both of them in first degree. خلينا نلاقي واحدة كده قوية جدا زي number 9. مكتوب عندنا هنا في number 9 3x minus 2y minus 14 equals 0, and the other equation is 2x plus 3y plus 8 equals 0. This is page 134, third number 9. ازاي بنعمل solving two equations, and these two equations both of them are of first degree and in two variables. Mainly ان احنا كنا لازم نعمل rearrange the two equations دول. يعني ايه اعمل rearrange؟ I'm gonna write the two equations as 3x minus 2y equals 14, and the other equation it will be 2x plus 3y equals negative 8. طيب ايه المطلوب مني بعد كده؟ المطلوب مني بعد كده ان انا اعمل vanishing ل one of the two variables, either x or y. و I'm gonna choose بقى انا هعمل vanishing لمين؟ للx ولا للy؟ I'm gonna vanish y. ناخد بالنا من الكوفيشنت هنا of y it's negative 2 والكوفيشنت هنا for y is 3. I'm gonna multiply up or the first equation by 3 and the second equation I'm gonna multiply it by 2. طيب نكتب بقى the new two equations. عندنا بقى two equations دلوقتي جداد. The first equation هتبقى 3 times 3 it will be 9x and 3 times negative 2 which is negative 6y and 3 times 14 the answer is 3 times 4 is 12, 2 and carry up 1, 3 times 1 is 3 plus 1 the answer is 4 which is 42. بعد كده I'm going to multiply 2 by the second equation, so 2 by 2 the answer is 4x and 2 times 3y the answer is positive 6y and 2 times negative 8 the answer is negative 16. Right. What should I do now? I have to add the two equations so y will be vanished. So when I add the two equations فعلا هلاقي هنا ال y will be vanished, negative 6y and this is positive 6y, they will be vanished. وبعد كده أطلع 9x plus 4x and the answer it will be 13x equals. وبعد كده همسك 42 plus negative 16 and the answer it will be 26. This is 26. So x equals 2. I got x, I have to get y. To get y, replace الكلمة السحرية بتاعتنا replace x by 2 in the first equation. طيب in the first equation I'm going to replace x هنا by 2 so to find y, so 3 times 2 minus 2y equals 14. So 6 minus 2y equals 14. So I'm going to move 6 to next side. So 14 minus 6, and 14 minus 6, it will be 8. Divided by negative 2, so y equals negative 4. طيب اوعى ننسى ان احنا نكتب السوليوشن سيت بتاعتنا. I got x as 2, I got y as negative 4. وممكن بكل بساطة ان انا اعمل يعني عشان اتاكد من الانسرز بتاعتي دي صح replace x and y by 2 and negative 4 in both equations واتاكد كده. شوف الانسر هنا minus 14 تطلع 0 وهنا الانسر تطلع 0 ولا لا. ننساش نكتب the solution set equals 2 and negative 4. يمكن ده the first lesson how to solve two equations algebraically. الجزء ده قد ايه هو جزء مهم، وارد جدا يجي سؤال زي كده. في عندنا جزء تاني من او الدرس التاني ان انا ازاي بعمل solving equation of second degree in one variable using the formula او graphically. طيب خلينا نشوف ونفتكر ايه الرول بتاعت الفورمولا. هنلاقي exercise تاني عندنا في page 136. page 136 نكتب هنا على سكرين page 136. عندنا the second exercise, and the second is find the solution set for each pair of the following equations by using the formula. طيب ده طبعا يعني اسم احنا بنلاقي الاسئله المشهوره جدا اللي ممكن تيجي على lesson زي دوت. طيب خلينا نشوف equation عندنا مثلا زي equation number 4. Number 4 is read as x squared minus 2 open bracket x plus 3 equals 0, knowing that root 7 is approximately 2.65. طيب to solve such equation you have برضو to arrange the equation. How can I arrange the equation? I have to simplify negative 2 times x and negative 2 times 3 and rewrite the equation as x power 2 minus 2x plus 6 equals 0. And write the coefficient of x power 2, which is 1, the coefficient of x, which is negative 2, and c is the free term. طيب أنا كده طلعت 3 coefficients, so use the formula to find the value of x. I have two values for x. Either x equals negative b plus root, and in the root we have b power 2 minus 4ac. And all of this over 2a. This is the first value of x. And the second value of x is negative b minus root b power 2 minus 4ac, and all of this over 2a. Fine, let's find x back. So x equals negative b, which is negative negative 2. The answer is 2 plus root b power 2 minus 4e. Some students بيحبوا قوي ان هم they have to find b power 2 minus 4ac first. وده حاجة يعني كويسة جدا ان انا اطلع b power 2 minus 4ac الاول. So b power 2 minus 4ac, which is negative 2 power 2 minus 4 times a times c, which is negative 24. Again, we have here طبعا هنا I'm sorry, we have negative 6 here. طيب اللي احنا عملنا ايه هنا دلوقتي؟ ان انا عملت b power 2 minus 4ac and b power 2 minus 4ac, which is negative 2 power 2 minus 4 times a and 4 times 1 times negative times c, which is negative 6. The answer is positive 24, and this is equal 4 plus 24, which is 28. طيب يبقى اعمل ايه بقى؟ نكتب هنا تحت الروت كده 28 والكلام دوت كده هعمله over 2a, which is 2 times 1. The answer is 2. طيب the other x equals the same بقى negative b, which is negative negative 2. The answer is 2 minus root b power 2 minus 4ac, which is 28. We got b power 2 minus 4ac over 2a, which is 2 times 1, and the answer is 2. Type simplify by the fraction. So x equals 2 plus, and root 28, it's root 4 times 7, which is 2 root 7 over 2. And simplify, the answer is 1 plus root 7. And for 1 plus root 7, and I got root 7, which is 2.65, and عندي هنا 2.65, which is root 7 approximately, it's root 7. يبقى أنا هكتب هنا الأنسر تطلع 3.65. طيب هنا في the other x, it will be x equals 1 minus root 7. And for 1 minus root 7, يعني أنا هعمل هنا 1 minus 2.65. And for 1 minus 2.65, the answer is negative 1.65. Negative 1.65. طيب ننساش نكتب solution set. The solution set is for this equation اللي احنا it's an equation of second degree in one variable x. The solution set اكتبها هنا فوق كده اهو. The solution set equals 3.65 and negative 1.65. خدنا بالنا ان السوليوشن سيت هنا there is no bracket for the two solutions because I have one variable only. لكن في الكويستشن اللي فات هنا هوت اللي هو كان في I have x and y, we have two answers. We have answer for x and answer for y. فده بنكتبه as an order pair. The first projection for x and the second projection for y. طيب ايه الدرس اللي عندنا بعد كده؟ الدرس اللي عندنا بعد كده solving an equation, two equations in two variables. One of them is first degree and the other is second degree. عندنا خدنا بالنا equation first degree, two equations first degree in two variables. One quadratic equation or one second degree equation in one variable. الدرس الثالث two equations in two variables. One of them is second degree and the other is first degree. الكلام ده عندنا في page 140. نفتح الكتاب. page 140 third. نكتب كده فوق. page 140 third. طيب خلينا نلاقي exercise. عندنا مثلا exercise number 8. For exercise number 8, exercise says find the solution set for each pair of the following equations. And for exercise number 8, y minus x equals 2. And the other equation is x power 2 plus xy minus 4 equals 0. I have two equations. One of them is first degree, which is the first equation, اللي هي y minus x equals 2. And the other equation, which is second degree equation, and the second degree equation is x power 2 plus xy minus 4 equals 0. The first step here, I have to rearrange the first degree equation as y equals or x equals. طيب طبعا اسهل لي هنا ان اكتبها y equals 2 plus x. The second step, replace y by 2 plus x in the second degree equation. يعني انا بعمل ايه دلوقتي؟ هعمل replacing لاي y هنا في second degree equation واكتب مكانها 2 plus x. I have only y, one y in the second degree equation. So I have to rewrite the equation x power 2 plus x open bracket as x times y, and عندي هنا x times y. So I have to multiply x by all the values of y, which is 2 plus x. يعني هكتب هنا bracket 2 plus x minus 4, and the answer equals 0. اللي باين هنا قدامي it's an equation of second degree, but I have to arrange this equation as I'm going to write x power 2 plus 2x plus another x power 2 minus 4 equals 0. And for adding the like terms, we have two like terms, and then هنا x power 2 plus x power 2. There are two like terms. فاكتب هنا 2x power 2 plus 2x minus 4 equals 0. طيب من الحاجات المهمة جدا ان انا اعملها ان انا بعمل simplifying for the equation. I'm going to divide this equation by 2. كأني بعمل simplifying fractions. ممكن اعمل simplifying equations as I'm going to multiply the equation. احيانا بنعمل times equation up and down equations اللي فاتت في السؤال الاولاني. فانك تعمل divide لكل الكوفيشنتس بتاعت الايكويشن او times دي حاجة عادية جدا وخصوصا في simplifying equation. طيب I'm going to divide 2x power 2 divided by 2. The answer is x power 2 plus and 2x divided by 2. The answer is x. And finally, 4 divided by 2, the answer is 2. equals 0. It's an equation of second degree. Either use the formula or factorization. طبعا الأسهل جدا إن أنا أشتغل بالفactorization. How can I factorize x power 2 plus x minus 2? طيب الفactorizing بتاعها I'm gonna factorize as 2 brackets equals 0. X power 2 I'm gonna factorize as x times x. And to factorize 2, it's 2 times 1, but it's not 2 actually, it's negative 2. So I have to factorize 2 as negative 2 times 1 or positive 2 times negative 1. طبعا I'm going to factorize as positive 2 times negative 1. So the means and the sum of for the means and the extremes يديني في الآخر هنا positive x اللي هو الميدل term. يبقى أنت لما تيجي تعمل factorization you have to check the sum of the means and the extremes. The product of the means plus the product of extremes gives me positive 1. طيب what should I do next? طيب 2 factors هنا times بعض equals 0. So either x plus 2 equals 0 or x minus 1 equals 0. So here's x equals negative 2 or x equals 1. طيب have we finished? Actually no, we haven't finished because I got x, I got 2 x's بس أنا لسه ما طلعتش ال y. In equations هنا عندي 2 equations, 2 variables. Y equals 2 plus x. For each x I have to find a value for y. So y equals 2 plus negative 2. عملت replacing فين في first degree equation. Y equals 2 plus x. So y equals 0. And here is y equals 2 plus 1. So y equals 3. Don't forget to write the solution set. The solution set for these two equations, I have 2 order pairs. اكتبهم هنا. Solution set equals. خلينا نشوف كده. The first order pair. For the first order pair, the first projection is negative 2 and the second projection is 0. So negative 2 and 0. And for the second order pair, for x equals 1 and for y equals 3, so we have 1 and 3. كده احنا mainly عملنا revision سريع جدا على first unit, and the first unit is equations. شفنا ازاي بنعمل solving 2 equations in 2 variables. One of them is first and the other is second. ازاي بنعمل solving equations second degree using the formula. كل ده algebraically. و 2 equation, one is first and the other is second degree. طيب the second unit الحقيقة كلها على ال functions وال fractional functions. How to find the domain of the function, how to find the set of zeros of the functions, adding and subtracting, multiplying and dividing, which are the operations, how to prove ان the two functions are equal. خلينا نعمل passing through على كل الأسئلة ديت. خلينا نشوف كده عندنا في page 141 and for page 141 في عندي complete. خلينا ننقي منهم شوية. عندي في page 141 complete the following. نشوف كده number 5. For number 5 in the complete بيقول لي the set of zeros of f where f of x equals x minus 5 all power 2. I have to find z of f. لو نفتكر abbreviation ده z of f means the set of zeros of the functions, and for the set of zeros of the function means what are the values of x that makes this function equal 0. When I draw this function, the intersection with the x-axis, the first coordinate طبعا, يبقى set of zeros, what are the values that I can replace by x so this function equals 0. طبعا في ناس على طول بتطلعها equals 5. Actually the answer is right. طيب وفي ناس لا steps بيشتغلوا كده to find the set of zeros of this function. So I have to make an equation as this function x minus 5 all power 2 equals 0. So which means in x minus 5 equals 0 يعني number power 2 equals 0, so this number equals 0, which means that x equals 5. So this is the set of zeros of this function. طيب على طول طب عايز الدومين of a function. الدومين طبعا for a polynomial function, this is a polynomial function, and for any polynomial function the domain equals r. Means what are the values that I can replace by x. ايه اللي ممكن الفاليوز احطها هنا في الاكس. I can replace x by any number, any real number. So the domain of this function is r. طيب خلينا نشوف question تاني على fractional function ويطلب مني الدومين في exercise number 7 في نفس البيج complete. بيقول لي في 7 the domain of the function f where f of x equals x power 2 minus x over x power 2 minus 2x minus 3. And I have to find the domain of this function. And for the domain of any function, احنا قلنا قبل كده the domain is all the real numbers except the set of zeros of the denominator. طيب الفكرة دي طبعا مهمة جدا جدا، ان لما تجيب domain for a fractional function not a polynomial زي number 5 polynomial function domain is R. For fractional function مشكلة كبيرة جدا لو denominator equals 0. So the domain of this function is R difference the set of zeros of the denominator. بيفضل جدا ان انت لما تجيب الدومين you have to factorize whatever up and down. So when I factorized the numerator and the denominator x power 2 minus 5, I have to take x as a common factor. So x times open bracket x minus 1. This then for the numerator. And for denominator, I'm going to factorize a trinomial x power 2 minus 2x minus 3 as two brackets. And for factorizing for x power 2, it's x times x. And for negative 3, it's negative 3 times positive 1. And the sum of the products of for the means and the extremes, the answer gives me negative 2. طيب بان قوي هنا الدومين. The domain of this function equals R difference the set of zeros of the denominator for these two factors. The zeros of these two factors are 3 and negative 1. طيب خلينا نعمل كده assumption ان هو كمان طلب a set of zeros for this function. And the set of zeros of a fractional function, I'm gonna get the set of zeros from the numerator, because any fractional function equals 0, it means the numerator equals 0. So the set of zeros of this function is, for the first factor here, x, so I'm going to write 0. And the second, for the second factor, x minus 1, the answer is 1. ناخد بالنا كويس جدا ان لو طلع one of the set of the zeros are one of the numbers which executed from the domain, I can't write it as a set of zeros. يعني ايه الكلام ده؟ خلينا نشوف example كده هكتبه من عندي. لو كتب لي هنا f of x equals x minus 2 over x power 2 minus 4 وطلب مني the set of zeros of this function. You have first زي ما قلنا I'm going to factorize the function f of x equals x minus 2 over a factorizing for difference of two squares, which is x plus 2 times x minus 2. And for the domain of this function, it's clear is R difference the set of zeros of the denominator, which are 2 and negative 2. Type. Let's find the set of zeros of this function. And we said before that the set of zeros of any function are the zeros of the numerator. And the answer is 2. And actually, this answer is completely wrong, because 2 is executed from the domain for the of the function. يعني 2 ديت أصلاً ما ينفعش أكتبها, because it's one of the illegal numbers. I can't write 2 هنا replace x by 2, impossible, لأن هي الدومين هنا R difference 2 and negative 2. طيب يبقى الset of zeros هنا هيبقوا كام؟ طيب نمسح بقى ده. The set of zeros of this function is phi. طيب من الأفكار تانية المهمة عندي إن إزاي how can I prove that two functions are equal. ودي من الأفكار أو الحاجات المهمة جدا اللي احنا لازم ناخد بالنا منها. وإزاي نقدر نجيب the common domain of two functions. خلينا نشوف question زي دوت برضو مكتوب هنا عندنا في نفس البيج page 141 exercise number 12. طيب exercise number 12 مديني two function n1 and n2. طيب نكتب كده n1 of x which is a function 5x over 5x squared plus 20. And for n2 of x, it's another function which is x over x power 2 plus 4. Then n1 equals n2 in the domain. طيب طبعا من الكونديشنز المهمة جدا عندي عشان أقول two functions are equals إن the two domains of the two functions must be the same. وتاني حاجة the simplification of the two functions should be the same. فأنا لو مسكت الفانكشن الأولانية n1 of x which is 5x over 5x squared plus 20 and I'm going to factorize it as n1 of x equals 5x over, I'm going to have 5 as a common factor, which 5 open bracket x power 2 plus 4. And the domain of this function, it's clear that the domain بتاع الفانكشن ديت d1 equals all the real numbers. Because I can't factorize x power 2 minus plus 4, there are no zeros for the denominator. وناخد بالنا بقى كمان ان انا هنا ممكن اعمل simplification and cancel 5 with 5. And the new function it will be x over x power 2 plus 4. طيب, what about the other function? The other function is x over x power 2 plus 4, which is the same of the first function. And the domain of this function also d2 equals r because there are no zeros for the denominator. يبقى the two functions are equal at the domain which is r, the real numbers. طيب, another question برضو على الجزء دوت لما في number 18 فكرة تانية على الدومين من غير ما يجي يقول لي find the domain of the function. ممكن يجيب لي شكل تاني من السؤال ويقول لي موجود في number 18. In number 18 the question says the function f of x equals x minus 5 over x minus 2 doesn't exist at x equals. طيب, سؤال جميل جدا. number 18 كتب لي f of x equals x minus 5 over x minus 2, and this function doesn't exist at x equals. طيب, الفانكشن طبعا doesn't exist أو this function is undefined at the zeros of the denominator. نبص كده على الزيروز بتاع الدينومينيتور. يعني الدينومينيتور ده اللي يبقى بزيرو, الفانكشن دي اكيد doesn't exist. طيب, ايه اللي بيخلي الدينومينيتور بزيرو؟ x equals 2. So the function doesn't exist at x equals 2. هنا سألني على الدومين بشكل مختلف شوية, يعني ان هو الدومين شيء طبيعي ان الدومين هنا d equals all the real numbers except 2 or difference 2. لكن هنا ممكن اقول the function doesn't exist at x equals 2. ده ممكن يكون شكل تاني من اشكال الاسئله. طيب, ايه اللي موجود عندنا برضو في الشابتر دوت؟ عندنا ازاي ممكن نجيب الدومين بتاع المالتيبليكاتيف انفرس. نشوف كده page 142. In page 142 عندي questions هنا choose the correct answer. وعندنا اسئله هنا على المالتيبليكاتيف انفرس. عندنا نبدا من number 3 page 142. And in page 142 exercise number 3 the choose. The question says n of x equals x minus 1 over x minus 2, then the domain of the multiplicative inverse of n, and it has this abbreviation, n to the power negative 1 of x. طيب, n power negative 1 of x means the domain of the multiplicative inverse of the function, and the domain of the multiplicative inverse is r difference the set of zeros of the numerator and the denominator, which are 1 and 2. يجي لي السؤال كده بقى find the function has a multiplicative inverse at the domain blah blah blah. يبقى انا واخد بالي ان انا بجيب the set of zeros of the numerator and the denominator. يقول لي find the domain of the multiplicative inverse. يبقى انا بجيب the set of r difference the set of zeros of the numerator and the denominator. لكن لو طلب مني the multiplicative inverse ما طلبش الدومين, قال لي n power negative 1 او the multiplicative inverse of the function is, يبقى انا مش عايز الدومين. I have to switch the function upside down to find the multiplicative inverse of this function. عندنا question مكتوب كده number 6 في choose. question قوي جدا, كاتب لي هنا number 6 n of x equals 1 over x minus 3 over x, then the multiplicative inverse of x equals. طيب, الcommon mistakes هنا الناس بتعمل switching before subtracting or maybe multiplying or dividing whatever الاوبريشن موجوده هنا. يعني نلاقي ناس بتكتب x minus x over 3, and this is absolutely wrong. And the right answer I have first to subtract these two functions 1 over x minus 3 over x, and the answer it will be x down as a common denominator here, x, and up 1 minus 3, and the answer is negative 2. This is n of x. يبقى أنا أول حاجة عملتها إيه؟ Subtracting, minus. طيب, the second step, which is I'm going to find the multiplicative inverse of this function, and the answer will be negative x over 2. This is n power negative 1x, or the multiplicative inverse of n of x, negative x over 2. طيب, another question موجود عندي في الكتاب, page 142, question number 10. برضو من الافكار اللي لازم اخد بالي منها ان انا بعمل add او subtract الاول. عايز اجيب الدومين، لا ما اجيبش الدومين. لازم نبقى مصحصحين للنقط ديت. عندنا في number 10 it's written as the domain of the function n, where n of x equals, كتب لي كده, n of x equals x plus 1 over x plus 2 plus x minus 2 over x plus 1. طيب, الكويستشن هنا عايز the domain. طيب, من الغلطات الشائعه برضو اللي احنا بنشوفها, او مش هنقول غلطه بقدر ما هي تضييع وقت. الناس بتعمل adding بقى وتعمل common denominator. السؤال مش عايز انك تعمل adding. السؤال عايز تطلع الدومين. And the domain is r difference, the set of zeros of the denominators, actually the two denominators. So the domain is r difference, the set of zeros of this denominator is negative 2, and the set of zeros of this denominator is negative 1. And that's all. طيب, هو ده الكويستشن عايز كده؟ هو عايز الدومين. طيب, خلينا نكمل احنا في الكويستشن بقى. يعني احنا هو ده اجابه السؤال. كده خلصت السؤال, اشوف بقى السؤال اللي بعده. طيب, لو طلب مني find the sum of these two functions, احنا كنا بنعمل ايه؟ نكتب كده التو functions دول من اول وجديد. x plus 1 over x plus 2 plus the other function x minus 2 and x plus 1. The main strategy we follow to find the sum of these two functions is make a common denominator, and the denominator here is x plus 2 and the denominator here is x plus 1, so I have to multiply up and down by x plus 1, and here I'm going to multiply up and down by x plus 2. طبعا نكمل نشوف ايه الموست كومن ميستيكس اللي احنا بنشوفها برضو هنا. نلاقي ناس هنا بتعمل simplification x plus 1 اللي هنا في الدينومينيتور دوت for the second function with x plus 1 in the which is the numerator in the first function, and this is absolutely wrong because this is add, it's not multiply. طيب, ايه اللي اعمله بعد كده؟ خلاص, I have a common denominator. I have one denominator x plus 1 times x plus 2 for the two functions. يعني انا هكتب هنا x plus 1 times x plus 2, and I'm gonna add the two numerators. For the first numerator, x plus 1 times x plus 1, which is x power 2 plus 2x plus 1, which is a perfect square, plus x minus 2 times x plus 2, which is the difference of two squares, which is, the answer is x power 2 minus 4. طيب, let's add the like terms, and we have like terms as x power 2 and x power 2. And the sum of these two terms is 2x power 2. طيب, I have 2x as a term. There is no like terms for this term. And 1 minus 4, the answer is negative 3 over x plus 1 times x plus 2. ده احنا شفنا كده ازاي ممكن اعمل adding ل two fractions. مع ان الكويستشن اصلا ما كانش عايز ان انا اعمل adding. الكويستشن كان عايز مني find the domain, بس احنا رجعنا بالمره ازاي نعمل adding for two fractions. عندنا كويستشن تاني مهم جدا, exercise 11 في نفس البيج, choose the correct answer. وده برضو من الاكسرسايزز اللي هي ممكن توقع ناس كتير قوي في مشكله, ولازم تبقوا مصحصحين قوي ليه. ان انت لما بتجيب the value of a function at a point, لازم تكون مطلع الدومين الاول. الدومين ده حاجه مهمه جدا في الفانكشنز, especially طبعا fractional function. ان انت لما تيجي بتجيب the value of this function at a point, يبقى لازم تكون واخد بالك من الدومين ايه هو. شوف الكويستشن ده number 11. in number 11 it says n of x equals 2x over x power 2 minus x plus 2. And the question says then n of negative 1 equals. طيب before getting n of negative 1 you have to find the domain of this function. And for finding the domain you have to factorize the denominator. يعني أنا المفروض هكتب الفانكشن دي من أول وجديد كده n of x equals up 2x over x plus 2 times x minus 1. And the domain of this function is r difference negative 2 and 1. يبقى أنا كده مطمن قوي. بص كده هو عايز إيه؟ n of negative 1. عارف لو طلب n of negative 2 it's undefined. n of 1 it's undefined. So you have to find n of negative 1 but first you have to find the domain of this function. كل اللي انت هتعمله ايه؟ replacing negative 1 and replace x by negative 1. هو ده اللي انت هتعمله. So n of negative 1 equals 2 times negative 1 over. ممكن اعمل replacing x هنا في السكند بعد بعد الفactorizing عادي negative 1 plus 2 times negative 1 minus 1. And find the answer up it's negative 2 and down 1 times negative 2 and the answer is negative 2. Finally the answer is 1. طيب another question هنا عندنا في page 143 subtracting بقى two functions and the same strategies that we followed in adding is I'm gonna follow in subtracting page 143 exercise number 13. خلينا نفتح new page ونشوف كده page 143 exercise number 13. And for exercise number 13 it says the domain of the function x minus 2 over x plus 3 minus 3x over x minus 1. طيب السؤال عايز ايه يا جماعه؟ السؤال عايز the domain of the function. Don't waste your time and find the subtracting. Just find the domain. So the domain of this function is r difference the set of zeros of the denominators. So r difference the set of negative 3 and here is 1. طيب question طلب مني مثلا question تاني قال لي find the value of this function then find the domain. انا هعمل subtracting لكن لحد كده انا خلصت الكويستشن بتاعي. طيب خلينا نفتكر ازاي بنعمل subtracting. حته زي من عندنا كده هتبقى هنا x minus 2 over x plus 3 minus 3x over x minus 1. What should I do? اول حاجه you have to make a common denominator. طبعا انا طلعت الدومين في الاول دي اهم حاجه. A common denominator, the denominator here is x plus 3 and the denominator here is x minus 2, x minus 1. So I'm going to multiply up and down by x minus 1 for the first fraction and here is up and down by x plus 3 for the second fraction. Now I have a common denominator. ايه common denominator اللي عندي بقى دلوقتي؟ بقى عندي denominator اسمه x minus 1 times x plus 3. طيب multiply بقى x minus 1 times x minus 2. Simply it's x power 2 plus 2 type the product of the means is negative x, the product of extremes is negative 2x, their sum is negative 3x minus an open bracket. ليه يا ترى؟ البراكت ده مهم جدا لان انا دلوقتي I'm gonna simplify the second part or the second numerator for the function. So I have to write negative وبعد كده افتح bracket اكتب ايه بقى جوه 3x power 2 plus 9x. ناخد بالنا ان في نيجاتيف هنا. This negative will switch all the signs of the numerator. يعني الفراكشن ده هيتكتب تاني من اول وجديد ازاي؟ اوعى تستكبري او تستكبر ان انت تكتب من اول وجديد. يعني في ناس ما تبقاش قادره تكتب يقول لك لا خلاص بقى انا هعكس الساين هنا وهيشطب. لا ما تبوظش الدنيا. انت عامل شغل كويس كمل الشغل اللي انت عامله. x power 2 minus 3x plus 2 minus 3x power 2 minus 9x. طيب we have like terms زي ايه عندنا هنا x power 2 minus 3x power 2. So the answer equals اوعى ننسى common denominator x minus 1 times x plus 3 and up x power 2 minus 3x power 2 the answer is negative 2x power 2. طيب في like terms تانية of course negative 3x and negative 9x. and the answer is negative 12x and here is plus 2. طب ممكن اخد common factor up؟ ممكن اخد common factor كمان، ممكن اخد common factor negative 2 وتشيك بقى اذا كان في factorizing وبعد كده ولا لا. طيب فكرة تانية هنراجع عليها من الافكار برضو اللي موجودة في الليسن بتاعنا، ان احنا ازاي بنعمل divide and multiplying two functions. عندنا هنا مثلا في page 144 عندنا في page 144 exercise number 13. نبدأ نشتغل في exercise number 13 page 144. نكتب هنا كده فوق page 144 exercise number 13. f of x equals x power 2 minus 49 over x power 3 minus 8, which is the difference between two cubes, divided by x plus 7 over x minus 2. طيب, the first step in dividing, you have to switch divide to multiply and write the second fraction as its multiplicative inverse. يعني انت بتغير divide multiply يبقى انت بتعمل multiplicative inverse of the second function. يعني انا هكتبها كده x power 2 minus 49 over x power 3 minus 8, changing divide to multiply. So you have to multiply by the multiplicative inverse of the second function, which is x minus 2 times x plus 7. طيب, the second step, you have to factorize. And factorizing the difference between two squares, x power 2 minus 49, 49 has a square root. So it will be x minus 7 times x plus 7. And for down, x power 3 minus 8, it's a difference of two cubes. And the factorizing of difference between two cubes, it's x minus 2. This is the first bracket, the cubic root of x power 3 and the cubic root of 8. Multiplying by x power 2 plus 2x plus 4. طيب, ما ننساش ان احنا الاوبريشن هنا change it to times. I'm going to write it. Multiply by the second fraction, x minus 2 over x plus 7. There is no factorization. طيب, simplifying بقى. الكلام ده ما نقدرش نعمله في ال adding or subtracting. ان انا اعمل simplifying x plus 7 as the denominator here with x plus 7 with the numerator. And switching also or cancelling x minus 2 with x minus 2 here. So the answer finally, it will be x minus 7 over x power 2 plus 2x plus 4. طيب, كده يا ترى اخد الدرجة كاملة على الكويستشن دوت؟ Actually no. انت ما بتاخدش الدرجة كاملة. ليه؟ You have to find the domain. اوعوا تنسوا الدومين ده. The domain of this. اوعى تبص بقى في الاخر هنا اهوت، لا ده الدومين هنا من اول step. It's our difference. And I'm gonna find the domain for the denominator x power 3 minus 8, x plus 7 and x minus 2. ليه؟ انت هنا جبت المالتيبليكاتيف انفرس، واحنا قلنا قبل كده نجيب المالتيبليكاتيف انفرس. So its domain is our difference, the set of zeros of the numerator and the denominator. And for x power 3 minus 8, ايه بقى يا ترى الزيروز بتاعتها؟ 2. طيب, هكتب هنا 2. طب وهنا x plus 7 السيت اوف زيروز بتاعتها negative 7. And x minus 2 السيت اوف زيروز بتاعتها 2. خلاص, we wrote it. خلاص, يبقى انا عندي هنا the domain of this function is r difference 2 and negative 7. طلب مني في الكويستشن بعد كده مثلا قال لي find f of 2. على طول undefined. Because 2 is executed from the domain. طلب مني مثلا f of 1. ممكن اطلع f of 1 replace x by 1 هنا في السمبليفاينج الاخير. يعني انا هكتب كده اهوت f of 1 is 1 minus 7 over 1 power 2 plus 2 times 1, which is 2, plus 4. And finally the answer is negative 6 over 7. افكار مهمه جدا ولازم ابقى مركز قوي وانا بحل اي question على الليسن دوت. شفنا ازاي بنعمل divide multiply add subtract، اسئله اكيد هنشوفها في الامتحان. شفنا ازاي ان احنا ممكن اجيب the domain of two functions عشان يبقوا equal. طبعا الدومين دوت for two functions and equal, the domain should be the same, and if they are not the same and I have to find the domain to make these functions are equal, so I'm going to find the common domain of these two functions. How can I find the common domain? خلينا نفتكر exercise على الجزء دوت. عندنا نفس البيج page 144 exercise number 14 آخر exercise عندنا في الشابتر دوت. بعد كده نخش في probability. Find the common domain of f of 1 and f of 2 to be equal such that, exercise number 14, page 144, exercise number 14. And for this exercise, f of 1 equals, نكتب كده the first function, f of 1, or f of 1 of x equals x power 2 plus 3x plus 2 over down x power 2 minus 4. This is the first function. And for the second function, f of 2 equals x power 2 minus 1 over x power 2 minus 3x plus 2. Type. To find the common domain of these two functions, I'm going to find the domain of the first one. You have to factorize عشان تجيب الدومين. So f of 1 of x equals x plus 2 times x plus 1. And down, I'm going to factorize x power 2 minus 4, and its factorization is x minus 2 times x plus 2. So the domain of the first function d1 equals r difference 2 and negative 2. This is the domain of the first function. Type. For the second function, f of 2 x equals, I'm going to factorize x power 2 minus 1 as x minus 1 times x plus 1 over x power 2 minus 3 x plus 2, trinomial. So its factorization is x minus 1 times x minus 2. And the domain of this function d2 equals r difference 1 and 2. What's the common domain? Is the common domain of these two functions is r difference, the set of zeros of all the denominators of these two functions, which are 2, negative 2, and 1. طيب شوف بقى probability. ده كان آخر شابتر عندنا المفروض. The main rules of the probability is إن أنا عشان أجيب probability of any event A, probability of event A, it's the number of elements in A over the number of elements in S. عرفنا كمان إن the probability of empty set phi, the answer is 0. عرفنا كمان probability of the sample space, it's 1. كلمة تانية عرفناها مهمة جدا إن لما أقول إن two events A and B are mutually exclusive events, and for mutually exclusive events, this means in the probability of A intersect B equals 0. The intersection of these two events is phi. طيب عرفنا كمان ازاي ممكن اجيب probability of A union B. And for A union B, its probability is probability of A plus probability of B minus the probability of the intersection of A and B. ولو عايز probability of A intersect B يبقى هجيب probability of A plus probability of B minus the probability of A union B. ممكن ألعب في السطر ده جامد جدا. عرفنا كمان إن أنا إزاي أجيب the probability of A complement, and for probability of A complement is 1 minus the probability of A. وعرفنا إن probability of A intersect the probability of A complement is 0. They are two mutually exclusive events because A and A complement, their intersection is phi. وعرفنا كمان the probability of A union, probability of A complement, the answer is 1 because A union A complement is S and the probability of S equals 1. وبعد كده عرفنا difference. How can I find the probability of A difference B? And for A difference B, it means the probability of A minus the probability of A intersect B. And also, how can I find the probability of B difference A, which is the probability of B minus the probability of the intersection. دي كانت المين رولز فور ذا probabilities. خلينا نشوف exercise هنا على ال probability. For example exercise page 146 exercise number 1. In page 146 exercise number 1 بيقول لي هنا a card is drawn randomly from 20 identical cards numbered from 1 to 20. جه سؤال قبل كده في الامتحان ان 20 identical cards دول numbered from 2 to 21. فلازم نبقى واخدين بالنا ومركزين هم 20 cards دول من كام لكام، او ما يقولكش ان هم 20 cards، يقول لك some cards numbered from 2 to 20. يبقوا دول كام؟ دول مش 20 cards، دول 19 cards. فلازم ابقى مركز قوي. how many cards do we have؟ هو هنا بيقول لي numbered from 1 to 20 وعددهم 20، هو قايل كمان. فهنا I have 20 cards، يعني السامبل سبيس هنا فيها 20 cards. Calculate the probability that the number of one drawn card is a number divisible by 5. And how many numbers divisible by 5 from 1 to 20? Simply make 20 divided by 5, and the answer is 4. We have 4 numbers between 1 and 20, and they are divisible by 5. So the first probability for a number divisible by 5 هتبقى 4 over 20, which is 1 over 5. طيب, for number 2, the question says a number divisible by 4. How many numbers between 1 and 20 divisible by 4? Make 20 divided by 4. And 20 divided by 4, the answer is 5. We have 5 numbers between 1 and 20 divided by 4. So the probability of a number divisible by 4 is 5 over 20. And the answer is 1 over 4. نبدأ نلعب بقى في كلمة مهمة جدا. A number divisible by 5 and 4. يعني أنا عندي دلوقتي بدور في النمبرز هما between 1 and 20. I have to find a number divisible by 5 and divisible by 4. We have actually one number اللي هو 20. So the answer here is 1 over 20. طيب, for number 4, a number is divisible by 5 or divisible by 4. اخد بالي بقى هنا. انا هكتب على جنب هنا دلوقتي النمبرز اللي هم divisible by 5 اللي هم ايه؟ احنا قلنا 5. قلنا 4 numbers 5 10 15 20. طب وال divisible by 4 هم ايه؟ قلنا 4 8 12 16 and 20. طيب, I have to find بقى how many numbers divisible by 5 or 4. I have to count all of them and don't repeat. We have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. مش هعمل counting لل 20. So the answer is 8 over 20. And the simplification of 8 over 20 اطلعها بعد كده على الكالكوليتر. divide by 4 answer it will be 2, and down divide by 4 the answer will be 5. This is 2 over 5. دي كانت الحلقة بتاعتنا النهارده. يا رب قدرنا نكون غطينا كل المواضيع اللي عندنا في الالجبرا. عندنا 3 units. good luck ان شاء الله في الامتحان، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.